Welcome students. So far we have covered unit number 1 and unit number 2 in the block 1 of this particular course BGP 001. Now we'll be moving to unit 3. What is unit 3? Unit 3 discusses about theories of peace building. So what we are going to understand in this unit? We are going to understand basic understanding about peace building, various theories and importance of peace building, school of thought of peace building. Again I am repeating, basic understanding about the peace building. What is peace building? What do you understand about peace building? What are different theories, propositions which has given the concept of development of peace building? What is the importance of peace building in harmony and state? And the third is, what are different schools of thought which govern peace building? So what is peace building? Peace building. What is peace building? Peace building is essentially the process of achieving peace. How we achieve peace? There can be different procedures, there can be different norms, there can be different policies for achieving the peace. So how we understand about peace building? The various concurrent and integrated actions undertaken at the end of a conflict to consolidate and prevent recurrence of armed confrontation. This definition of peace building was given by Kofi Annan. This says that the various concurrent and integrated actions means actions which are integrated and concurrent, which are being undertaken towards ending a conflict. So ending the conflict for what? To consolidate and prevent for recurrence of armed confrontation. So this definition can be understood in three different ways. The first is, we should have concurrent and integrated actions. For what? To undertake end or ending of a conflict. For what? To consolidate and prevent recurrence of any armed confrontation. So the attempt to address underlying structural, relational, cultural root cause of conflict is also another definition of the peace building. This says that when we have to address the peace building, we have to take an attempt to address the underlying causes of the conflict, which are leading for structural, relational or cultural. Means in this definition, causes of conflict has been divided into three categories. The first is structural, the second is relational, and the third is cultural. Means you can have structural conflict also, you can have relational conflict also, you can have a cultural conflict also. So what another definition of peace building says that peace building is what is it? It is a holistic and comprehensive process. So when it is a holistic and comprehensive process, so what does it include? It includes post-conflict reconstruction, improving and building on social relations, provision of aid and assistance, reconciliation and entire state and structural changes. So this concept of peace building basically is governing towards holistic and comprehensive process which is basically concentrated towards reconstruction, post-conflict reconstruction in a state or area or country. For what? Improving and building social relationship which was destroyed because of any kind of conflict, war or any kind of aggression. Then providing aid assistance by humanitarian agencies, and then reconciliation and entire social and structural changes. The term peace building, who had given it for the first time? It was given for the first time by Johann Galtung in 1969. He had given first time the definition of the peace building, and he defined this term as one of the three approaches of the peace. Means according to this definition of peace building, there could be three different approaches of the peace. What is that? Peacemaking, peacekeeping and peace building. These are the three approaches for the peace, which he says that it is because of peacemaking, peacekeeping and peace building. So for achieving peace, you can have three different approaches, and these three different approaches are peacemaking, peacekeeping and peace building. The negative peace achieves the absence of physical violence through peacekeeping only, while positive peace can achieve the absence of structural violence through peacemaking and peace building. If you kindly recollect the first unit where we were discussing about negative peace and positive peace, just please try to recollect your understanding about the negative peace and positive peace. In that unit we had discussed that negative peace is basically absence of physical violence. So how you achieve that? You can achieve negative peace, means absence of physical violence, with the help of peacekeeping. Whereas in the positive peace, which was a kind of dynamic peace which can be achieved with the absence of structural violence. So how do you go for avoidance of structural violence? With the help of peacemaking and peace building. So we again go back to definition of Galton, which says that the peace can be achieved through peacemaking, peacekeeping and peace building. The first is peacekeeping. The peacekeeping is linked with the negative peace, means absence of physical or structural violence, whereas the positive peace is achieving the absence of structural violence through peacemaking and peace building. There can be two different understanding of peace building, both of which reflect the two antipodes of peace as defined by Galtung, that is liberal peace building and sustainable peace building. So before we go for further understanding about liberal peace building and sustainable peace building, I again invite your attention towards the three different approaches for the peace. One is peacemaking, peacekeeping and peace building. Negative peace that achieves, that targets, or that objective of negative peace is to achieve absence of physical violence. So this can be done through peacekeeping. Whereas for the positive peace, that is can be achieved with the absence of structural violence, it can be through peacemaking and peace building. And further, this discussion will be further taken to the another level for two antipodes of the peace, that is liberal peace building and sustainable peace building. Like liberal peace building, it focuses on democratic rebuilding of the state. How? After the armed conflict, and it is based on the concept of democratic liberal peace going back to the works of Immanuel Kant. It focuses on democratic rebuilding of the state when armed conflict is over, and it is based on concept of liberal peace based on the theoretical definition of Immanuel Kant. He says that in his work of Perpetual Peace, he laid the foundation of an understanding of peace building between states which is completely based on democratic value. Means perpetual peace is basically based on the democratic value that is existing between the states who are attempting towards peace building. A positive correlation between democracy, economic liberalization and peace, that is higher the level of a free market economy in combination with democratic political system, the higher is the chances of the peace. It is a concept of liberal peace given by Adam Smith. Adam Smith says that to achieve liberal peace, you should have a positive correlation between democracy, economic liberalization and peace. This particular understanding about liberal peace emphasizes upon free market economy, because free market economy is linked with economic liberalization. So when you have high level of free market economy, means economic liberalization, together combined with democratic political system, then you can go for higher chances of the peace. This is a liberal peace conceptualization by Adam Smith. So after this liberal peace building, we can go for another concept of peace building, that is known as sustainable peace building. What is this? In this peace building framework, which is based on understanding of peace building that centers around sustainable reconciliation within societies. Peace building can be achieved through the establishment of structures, processes and training of people within a generation-long time frame. This definition of John Paul. So what we again let our understanding clear about sustainable peace building. It is a kind of peace building framework which is based on understanding of peace building, which is centered around sustainable reconciliation within societies. Means different groups, different subsections in the societies which help, which work toward mutual sustainable reconciliation of, which is existing among their group or their social group or their existence in the different societies. So peace building, another approach for the peace building given by John Paul under sustainable peace building, is it can be achieved through establishment of structure, process and training of people within a generation long time frame. And which is saying the generation long time frame means it is a time taking process towards achieving a sustainable peace building. So complexity theory of conflict prevention and peace building. After these two understanding of liberal peace building and sustainable peace building, we go for our understanding about complexity theory of conflict prevention and peace building. It is given by Paul van Tongeren. He says that to make a contribution to the peace, variety of agencies need to work together at many different levels in various ways. Hence, impacts can never be attributed to one single actor. In simple words, nobody can claim that only because of X factor sustainable peace can be achieved in a country yet. So we can say that there can be complex, it is saying as complex theory, complexity theory means there can be variety of agencies, variety of factors that are working together in different level in a country, in a society, in an area or a group of country. So impact of this can never be attributed to a single factor. It is basically a complex understanding or interrelationship of all those different factors that are contributing towards the peace. So how we can go for a basic definition, what we can say as a basic working definition of peace building, balancing between two extremes which allowing the flexibility. It says that peace building aims at preventing and managing armed conflict, sustainable peace after large-scale organized violence has ended. Means when the violence is over, we can go for peace building which is targeted towards preventing and managing armed conflict. Okay, and it further says that peace building is a multi-dimensional effort, means it can have all those various factors which goes for covering its scope, which have all activities that are linked directly to this objective over 5 to 10 years. So it is not a peace building is not a short-term process, it is a long-term process which can go for achieving the objective of peace building, which ranges from 5 to 10 years. And the third is peace building should create conducive condition for economic reconstruction, development, democratization as preconditions for legitimate democratic order and should not be equated and thus confused with these concepts. So peace building can have 3 or 4 major criteria. The first is economic reconstruction after the armed conflict is over, which is very important. And secondly, it goes for legitimate democratic order, means democratic principle based governance in that particular country, state or region. Though when these all things are combined, it can go for the overall understanding and developing peace building process in that particular country, area or region. So next point that we are going to take your attention is towards peace building in international relation theory, means how peace building is related with international relations. So the first is realistic theory of peace building. What does it say? It focuses on balance of power among sovereign nation states based on understanding that international system is anarchic and states are driven by interest rather than idealistic norms. So realistic state of theory says that it basically depends upon the understanding that international system, means the international relation that it is understood in this particular theory is basically driven by interest of individual nation or the group of nation, which is anarchic rather than idealistic. There is no idealistic concept in that. It is basically anarchic and concerned toward the interest of the nation or the group of the nation. So idealistic theory of peace building, which is the next one, is it advocates a world is regulated by international organizations, norms and standards. Again, let us compare that. Realistic theory says that international system is anarchic and states are driven by interest rather than idealistic norms, whereas the idealistic theory of peace building says that it advocates for a world regulated by international organizations, norms and standards. The third is structuralist theory of peace building. It focuses on justice and equality and critically analyzes the power relations within the system. Means what is the relation between the justice and equality in the overall system development in the particular country, area or the region. So peace building in international theories till now we have discussed are basically three. The first is realistic theory of peace building, second is idealistic theory of peace building, and third is structuralist theories of peace building. In the realistic theory of peace building, it says that international system is anarchic and states are driven by interest rather than idealistic norms. Idealistic theory of peace building says that it advocates for a world regulated by international organizations, norms and standards, just like United Nations. And the third is structuralist theory of peace building, which focuses on justice and equality and critically analyzes the power relations within the system. After having understood about these basic three theories about international peace building process, we now move to theoretical approaches of the peace building. So under theoretical approaches of the peace building, the first is conflict management school. Conflict management school. This school says what? It is a theoretical approach which is referred to as outcome oriented approach, which aims to identify and bringing the leaders of the conflict parties to the negotiation table. So when we are talking about conflict management, so conflict management is coming with the negotiation. Negotiation means all those conflict involved parties, bring them to a table of negotiation so that some outcome is generated. Outcome is generated for the peace. So on peace negotiation table, it is closely linked to the institutionalization of peace building in international law, and the main focus is on short-term management of the armed conflict. So we get three basic outcomes of this conflict management school. First is, it is basically on taking conflict parties to the negotiation table to find an outcome oriented approach. Secondly, it is closely linked to the institutionalization of the peace building process under the overall ambit of international law, and the third is its main focus is short-term management of the armed conflict. So this is the understanding about conflict management school. Now let's see what other school of thought says. The second is conflict resolution school. So before we move to the conflict resolution school, let's have two more important dimension of the conflict. The first school, that is conflict management school. It says that it has been criticized. Now before this we have seen three basic positivity of conflict management school. Now let us the negative point on which this school has been criticized. This school has been criticized on the ground that mediators tend to concentrate solely on the top leadership of the conflicting parties and not always neutral in internal conflicts. And secondly, it overlooks deep causes of conflicts and thus cannot guarantee long-term stability of the peace agreement. As we have understood that this particular school of thought is for the short-term ending of the conflict, means the outcome which is generated from the conflict management school are not standing for or not giving any kind of guarantee for long-term stability of the peace agreement. So this was about conflict management school. The second school of thought is, so in conflict resolution school, its approach is to solve underlying causes of conflict and rebuild destroyed relationship between the parties. Conflict management and conflict resolution. So this second school of conflict resolution, as opposed to conflict management, its approach is to solve underlying causes of the conflict and rebuild destroyed relationship between the parties. So conflict resolution is basically upon redeveloping the destroyed relationship. This school is based on legal mechanism and conventional negotiation to settle disputes by finding compromise solution. So conflict resolution school is basically a kind of compromising solution based school. Under this logic, relationship need to be rebuilt not only between the top representative of the conflict parties but also within society at large. Now you see the difference between conflict management and conflict resolution. In the conflict management, as we have seen, that all those top leadership are brought to the negotiation table to resolve the conflict. Whereas in the conflict resolution school, the basic tenet is that relationship, the emphasis on the relationship need to be rebuilt not only between the top representative of the conflicting parties but also within the society at large. So there is another difference, that this particular school, that is conflict resolution school, gives major emphasis about the relationship rebuilding at the society level, not only at the top representative level. The another focus of this school is to address the root cause of conflict with relationship building and long-term resolution oriented approaches. We can see the difference between, again, conflict management and conflict resolution. Conflict management goes for short-term goals for resolution of the peace, where this school, conflict resolution school, is basically long-term resolution oriented approaches. It has been also criticized. Every school has positive and negative. So this school has been criticized because the progress is too lengthy to be able to stop wars. Improving communication and building relationship between conflict parties do not necessarily result in an agreement to end the war. You got it? This school is criticized, means the weakness and the poor points or the weak points of this particular school is that this process is very lengthy, whereas the conflict management school was able to complete the entire process of 5 to 10 years. This school is far lengthy to able to stop wars, means there is no guarantee that the war will be stopped. Improving communication and building relationship, on which this school particularly concentrates between the conflict parties, it is not guaranteed or not necessarily result in agreement to end the war. So it is not very sure that after going through this school and resolution and creating kind of peace, overcoming that and finding a resolution, so this is not guaranteed that it will end the war. So after conflict management school, conflict resolution school, we come to the third school, that is known as complementary school. The complementary school of thought says that it focuses on possible congruence between conflict management and resolution schools, combination of both of these two schools. And there are three approaches in this particular school. This is also known as contingency model for third party intervention in armed conflict, and aimed at identifying the appropriate third party method and timing of the intervention. So under this school, we get a contingency model for third party intervention in the armed conflicts, and it is aimed at identifying the appropriate third party method and timing of the intervention. The conflict escalation model aimed to de-escalate the conflict from phase to phase. According to one of the author, it says that when a conflict is in the early escalation phase, it is the appropriate time for resolution oriented approaches, while conflict management approach like official mediation should be used when the conflict is already on the high escalation level. I again repeat it, under this model, when the conflict is in the early escalation phase, it is the appropriate time to mount resolution oriented approaches. But while the conflict management approaches, like official mediation, it should be used when the conflict is already on the high escalation phase. Then comes multi-track diplomacy approach. Multi-track diplomacy approach, it seeks to make a clear distinction between different approaches and actors by adopting a track concept. What is track? Track 1 involves diplomatic peace building initiative by governments and is in the line with the conflict management school. Track 2 represents original conflict resolution school, while the other tracks try to cluster other relevant actors. And finally, we comes for conflict transformation school. It was given by John Paul in 1997. It recognizes that existence of irresolvable conflicts and therefore suggests replacing the term conflict resolution with the term conflict transformation. So the basic tenet of conflict transformation school is that it is moving from conflict resolution to conflict transformation. For a constructive transformation of conflict, it is very necessary to identify and consolidate support structure that is going to strengthen the peace process. So we are moving from conflict resolution to conflict transformation for a constructive transformation of conflict, which is necessary to identify and consolidate support structure which is going to strengthen the peace process. In this approach, society is divided into 3 levels, and these 3 levels can be approached by 3 different set of peace building strategies. The top leadership can be accessed by mediation at the level of the states, that is known as track 1. So it will be an outcome oriented approach, while the mid-level leadership, that is the track 2, it can be reached through more resolution oriented approaches such as problem solving workshop, peace commissions with the help of partial insiders. And the third level is a grassroots level, that is track 3. It goes for representation from the majority of the population and can be reached with a wide range of peace building approaches such as local peace commissions, community dialogue projects or trauma building. For your enhanced understanding, I again repeat that under this approach, we have basically 3 tracks at 3 different levels of society. So under track 1, top leadership can be accessed by mediation at the level of the state, and it is based on outcome oriented approach. Under second level, that is known as mid-level leadership, which can be reached through resolution oriented approaches such as problem solving workshop or peace commissions with the help of insiders. And the third is grassroots level, which is known as track 3, which represents the majority of the population and can be reached by a wide range of peace building approaches such as local peace commissions, community dialogue projects or trauma healing. In this case of track 3, local population is involved on a larger extent for achieving the peace process. With this, our unit 3 is over, and in the next session we will discuss the unit 4, which is basically titled as challenges of peace building. So see you in the unit 4. Bye.